Ford has just pulled the curtain back on what could be the most important truck of the decade, and the entire auto industry is already buzzing. The 2026 Ford Ranger has officially been revealed by Ford's CEO. And this isn't just another pickup refresh, this is a declaration of war. For years, the Ranger has been a quiet workhorse in Ford's lineup, often overshadowed by its bigger brother, the F-150. But now, with this new unveiling, Ford is signaling that the Ranger is stepping out of the shadows and into the spotlight. As a full-blown game-changer, imagine a truck that merges rugged durability with next-generation technology. One that doesn't just meet customer expectations, but completely rewrites them. And here's the kicker: the way Ford is positioning this truck could reshape how Americans think about midsize pickups forever. What makes this reveal so jaw-dropping is not just the sleek redesign or the aggressive new stance, but the whispers coming straight from Ford's executive offices. Insiders are already hinting that the 2026 Ranger isn't simply a response to consumer demand, it's a strategic strike aimed at Toyota's Tacoma, Chevy's Colorado, and even the growing threat from overseas automakers like Volkswagen and BYD, who are eyeing the US truck market. Ford isn't just upgrading a vehicle, they're defending their turf. The CEO himself stood on stage, his words carefully chosen, hinting that this Ranger is not just built for today, but engineered for the battles of tomorrow, whether that's electrification, hybrid dominance, or even a rugged new approach to off-road supremacy. And here's where things get really interesting: the details Ford let slip were just enough to spark speculation, but not enough to satisfy the hunger of die-hard truck enthusiasts. The new platform is rumored to be capable of handling multiple powertrains, including a next-generation hybrid system, and possibly even a fully electric variant down the road. The exterior design alone screams authority, with sharper lines, a bolder grille, and a more muscular frame that looks like it was sculpted for both urban dominance and backcountry trails. But beneath that aggressive skin, Ford has hinted at tech upgrades so advanced that they could put the Ranger years ahead of its competition. But the question remains, why now? Why did Ford's CEO choose this exact moment to drop such a massive bombshell on the industry? Some experts believe Ford is playing offense, moving before competitors can fully catch their breath in a market already shaken by price cuts, EV delays, and supply chain chaos. Others say Ford knows that consumer loyalty is shifting, and the Ranger might be their ticket to locking in a new generation of truck buyers before rivals even get a chance to strike. Whatever the reason, this unveiling wasn't just about showing off a new truck, it was about sending a message, loud and clear, that Ford intends to dominate the future of midsize pickups. And when you look closer at the timing of this reveal, it becomes almost impossible to believe it's a coincidence. Ford didn't just decide to casually show off the 2026 Ranger, they deliberately staged this announcement while the midsize truck segment is in complete flux. Toyota is preparing to roll out its updated Tacoma, GM is struggling with bloated inventories of the Colorado and Canyon, and Stellantis is still scrambling to figure out the future of the Ram midsize pickup by jumping ahead with a bold reveal. Ford CEO effectively stole the spotlight, forcing every competitor to react rather than lead. It's a classic power play, one that Ford has used before to cement dominance, and if history is any guide, it could work again. But what truly shocked the audience wasn't just the Ranger's aggressive new styling or the potential hybrid system, it was the language the CEO used. Instead of talking about incremental improvement or evolution, he described the Ranger as a pivot point for the entire Ford brand. He suggested that the truck wouldn't just offer options, but would set the standard for how mid-sized trucks are built and sold in the future. This wasn't the careful, measured tone we usually hear from auto executives. It was bold, almost confrontational, as if Ford is daring the rest of the industry to catch up. Then there's the technology. Ford gave us only glimpses, but what we saw was enough to spark major speculation. Think about a fully digital driver cockpit with seamless software updates, off-road driving modes powered by AI learning, and a next-generation infotainment system that doesn't just compete with Tesla, but potentially outclasses it in utility. The Ranger's bed design was teased as well, with hints of smart storage solutions, power outlets strong enough to run heavy-duty equipment, and possibly even solar charging integrations for future electric variants. If even half of these whispers turn out to be true, Ford won't just be releasing another truck, they'll be releasing a platform that pushes the boundaries of what a pickup can be. But here's where the suspense tightens the CEO carefully. Avoided one key detail: price. No official numbers, no hints, just silence. And in today's climate of price wars, where GM and Stellantis are slashing costs and Tesla is rewriting EV pricing altogether, that silence speaks volumes. Is Ford preparing to undercut the Tacoma and Colorado, seizing the market with aggressive pricing? Or are they confident enough to charge a premium, betting that the Ranger's advanced features will command loyalty regardless of cost? That unanswered question is hanging heavy, fueling speculation across the industry. And this is exactly where the mystery starts to grow, because while Ford kept quiet on pricing, the timing suggests they're preparing to pull a trick from their playbook that has shaken the industry before. Think back to when the F-150 Lightning was announced. Everyone expected it to carry a premium price tag, but Ford stunned the market with aggressive entry-level pricing that forced rivals to recalculate their entire EV strategies. Could Ford be setting up a similar move with the 2026 Ranger? Imagine if they launched this truck at a price point so sharp that it undercuts Toyota's Tacoma while still offering features that leapfrog GM and Stellantis. It wouldn't just be a sales win, it would trigger a chain reaction that could destabilize the entire midsize truck market. Behind closed doors, analysts are whispering that Ford's leadership knows the stakes are higher than ever. Truck buyers are no longer just looking for raw towing capacity or rugged styling, they're demanding versatility, fuel efficiency, tech integration, and future-proof engineering. If the Ranger nails all of these categories while keeping the price competitive, it could cement Ford as the undisputed leader of a segment that's about to explode in growth. But here's the flip side: if Ford miscalculates, if they overprice or overpromise, the backlash could be brutal. The midsize pickup buyer is one of the most loyal and opinionated groups in the automotive world, and losing trust here would give Toyota and GM an easy opening to strike back. And there's something else Ford CEO hinted at without spelling it out: global strategy. The Ranger isn't just an American truck, it's sold in dozens of countries, and in markets like Australia, South Africa, and Southeast Asia, it already has a cult following. By engineering the 2026 Ranger as a truly global platform, Ford could be aiming to unify its truck dominance worldwide. That means the innovations revealed today aren't just aimed at the US market, they're designed to capture international buyers, putting even more pressure on rivals who have struggled to match Ford's global reach. But perhaps the most telling moment came not in what the CEO said, but in how he said it. There was a sense of urgency in his tone, as if Ford knows that this moment is make or break. Between the EV revolution, the looming threat of Chinese automakers entering the US market, and the economic uncertainty that's making buyers more cautious, this Ranger reveal feels less like a product launch and more like a battle cry. Ford is betting that the 2026 Ranger will not just survive in this environment, but thrive and drag the rest of the midsize truck segment forward with it. And here's where things take an even more intriguing turn, because while Ford showed US plenty on stage, insiders are already leaking whispers about what wasn't revealed. According to early reports, the 2026 Ranger could be hiding features that Ford deliberately chose not to showcase yet, features that could blindside competitors when they're officially announced. We're talking about advanced driver assist, systems that push closer to full autonomy on highways, next-generation over-the-air software updates that keep the truck evolving long after purchase, and even whispers of a modular battery system for future EV variants. If true, this means Ford is designing the Ranger not just as a truck for 2026, but as a truck that could still feel cutting-edge well into the 2030s. One leak in particular has grabbed everyone's attention: a rumored trail AI system that uses sensors, cameras, and machine learning to adapt the truck's off-road performance in real time. Imagine climbing steep terrain or crossing muddy trails while the truck calculates the best torque distribution, throttle response, and braking on its own, making even amateur drivers feel like seasoned pros. If Ford rolls this out, it won't just change the Ranger, it will change the very definition of what it means to go off-road. Competitors like Toyota, with its TRD Pro badge, or Chevy Zert to lineup, would suddenly look a step behind. And let's not forget connectivity. Ford is betting big on the idea that the next generation of truck owners won't just want raw power, they'll want a rolling command center. Insiders suggest the new Ranger could feature seamless integration with smart homes, fleet management, tools for businesses, and even energy-sharing capabilities where the truck itself doubles as a generator or backup power source. Ford already teased this concept with the F-150 Lightning, but bringing it into the midsize segment would put enormous pressure on rivals to match it. Of course, Ford is also playing a dangerous game by holding back details. Every day they keep these features under wraps, competitors are racing to catch up or at least spread doubt. And make no mistake, Toyota, GM, and even Stellantis are watching this launch like hawks, ready to counter with announcements of their own. But Ford's strategy seems clear. Reveal just enough to dominate the headlines, then drip-feed the bombshells over time, keeping the Ranger in the news cycle for months. It's a marketing war as much as it is a product war, and yet, the biggest question still lingers in the air: just how far is Ford willing to push the Ranger to secure its dominance? Will they gamble on an affordable EV Ranger ahead of schedule? Will they unleash a high-performance Raptor variant that blows away everything in its class? Or is there an even bigger surprise waiting behind the curtain? Something so bold, it could redefine the midsize truck segment forever. And the reason this feels like the beginning of a new truck war is because rivals are already making moves behind the scenes. Toyota, for instance, has been quietly testing prototypes of its next-gen Tacoma hybrid, with some sources saying it could boast fuel efficiency numbers that challenge even sedans. GM, on the other hand, is under massive pressure to breathe life into the Colorado and Canyon, both solid trucks, but increasingly criticized for being outpaced by Ford's aggressive innovation cycle. If Ford truly delivers on the 2026 Ranger's rumored hybrid or EV capabilities, GM may find itself scrambling to retool platforms that were never designed for electrification in the first place. And then there's Stellantis, the wild card. The Ram brand has teased a midsize pickup for years, but delays and internal debates have kept it off the stage. Now, with Ford taking such a commanding lead, Stellantis risks being left out of one of the fastest-growing truck segments entirely. The pressure is mounting, and it's no exaggeration to say that Ford's Ranger reveal could force Stellantis into a do-or-die decision. But what's perhaps most threatening to all these established players isn't just Ford's boldness, it's the looming presence of new challengers. Chinese automakers like BYD and Great Wall Motors are eyeing the global pickup market with aggressive strategies, undercutting prices and flooding developing markets with trucks that blend affordability with surprising tech. If Ford can make the Ranger an unstoppable force globally, it could block those newcomers from ever gaining a foothold in North America. But if they stumble even slightly, Ford risks giving these rising giants the opening they've been waiting for. And this leads to a critical point: the Ranger isn't just a truck, it's a chess piece in a much larger game. With EV adoption slowing in the US, hybrid demand skyrocketing, and global truck competition intensifying, Ford's every move here matters. One misstep could cost them billions. One bold success could lock in dominance for another decade. And as much as Ford's CEO sounded confident on stage, you could almost sense the weight of that gamble hanging in the room. But the real suspense isn't just in what Ford revealed, it's in what they carefully avoided saying. No word yet on exact hybrid specs, no confirmation of an all-electric Ranger launch window. No mention of whether a performance Raptor variant will arrive alongside the base model or be delayed. It's almost as if Ford is holding its cards close, daring the media and the competition to guess, while knowing they've got something explosive in the pipeline that hasn't been shown yet. And that's where the intrigue deepens, because when a company of Ford's scale withholds critical details, it usually means one thing: they're protecting something groundbreaking. Think back to how Apple teases products, giving you just enough to get hyped, while leaving out the killer feature that makes headlines later. Ford seems to be following the same playbook with the 2026 Ranger. The fact that they stayed silent on hybrid specifications, refused to lock in EV timelines, and dodged questions on performance trims isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign that something bigger is brewing behind the curtain. Whispers from supplier chains already suggest that Ford is testing multiple powertrain variants simultaneously, including a high-output hybrid system that could out-torque even some V6 competitors, and an experimental all-electric Ranger with a battery pack designed for rugged use, not just city commuting. If these reports are accurate, Ford may be preparing to unleash a truck lineup that can't just compete, it can dominate across every category. From affordable entry-level models to performance beasts to future-ready electrified versions. And then there's the Raptor question. Ford knows the Ranger Raptor has developed a cult-like following overseas, and the pressure to make it a global store including in the US is immense. But if they're holding it back from the initial reveal, it could mean Ford is preparing a separate stage, a second wave of publicity where the Raptor emerges as the crown jewel. Imagine the headlines when Ford finally drops the specs on a 2026 Ranger Raptor boasting next-gen suspension, hybridized power, and off-road systems that make even Jeep sweat. That kind of reveal could dominate news cycles all over again, strategically, timed just as competitors attempt their own announcements. But here's the most fascinating piece: Ford may not even be aiming this truck solely at traditional buyers. The language their CEO used, future-proof, global, multi-platform, suggests the Ranger is being designed as more than a pickup. It's being built as a modular workhorse that could evolve into anything Ford needs: a hybrid commuter, a fleet vehicle, a full EV, or a hardcore off-roader. That flexibility is exactly what automakers need in an uncertain market, where consumer demand and government policies are shifting year by year. And if Ford can pull it off, it gives them an agility that Toyota, GM, and Stellantis don't currently have, which leads to the burning question: what's the endgame? Is Ford simply trying to protect its midsize dominance, or are they laying the foundation for something even bigger? Something that could redefine what built Ford tough means in an era of electrification, AI-driven features, and global competition. And if we look closely, the clues are already there. The Ranger isn't being positioned as just a truck, it's being positioned as Ford's bridge into the future. When the CEO spoke about it being the standard bearer, it wasn't just about performance or design, it was about philosophy. Ford knows the industry is standing at a crossroads. Full EV adoption has slowed, hybrids are surging, and global competition is intensifying like never before. By making the Ranger adaptable across multiple technologies, Ford is essentially hedging its bets, ensuring that no matter which direction the market tilts, electric, hybrid, or even extended gas-powered, dominance, the Ranger is ready to lead, and that adaptability might be Ford's ace in the hole. Most rivals are locking themselves into one lane: Toyota pushing hybrids, GM gambling hard on EVs, Stellantis scrambling to catch up in both. But Ford's approach with the Ranger looks different: modular, flexible, resilient, a single platform that can evolve faster than the competition. That's not just smart engineering, it's corporate survival strategy. And it signals that Ford isn't just thinking about 2026, they're thinking about 2030, 2035, and beyond. But here's where the story gets even more suspenseful. Insiders are saying that Ford's engineers have been experimenting with tech that goes beyond anything in the midsize truck segment. Advanced towing assist systems that practically handle the physics for you, battery swap experiments for fleet EV Rangers, even talk of integrating AI-driven diagnostics that can predict breakdowns before they happen. If these features make it into production, the Ranger wouldn't just be a truck, it would be a living platform, constantly learning, updating, and evolving with its driver. And that brings us to a question few people are asking, but everyone should be: is the Ranger just the test bed for Ford's larger transformation? Think about it: the F-150 is too iconic, too risky to radically experiment on. But the Ranger? It's the perfect candidate to push boundaries, test radical ideas, and then roll them out across the lineup if successful. In other words, the 2026 Ranger might not just be a truck, it might be the blueprint for Ford's entire future. Which raises another chilling possibility. If Ford succeeds, will the Ranger trigger a complete reordering of the truck hierarchy, forcing Toyota, GM, and Stellantis to play catch-up for years to come? Or if Ford stumbles, will it hand it over the midsize crown to a competitor who's been quietly waiting for their moment to strike?